Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Ted, hanging out with some of the colleagues today.
Ryan.
Dave.
And today we're going to bring you another edition of Terrible Terrain, The Haunted House.
Feels like this should almost be a Halloween video, but it's cool. Halloween, in July.
4th of July, whatever.
Yeah, it's patriotism.
So, I think, when you're going to go with a haunted house, there's a lot of the staples that you need.
First things first, do a marathon of Scooby-Doo.
That's right. One way to go.
I wouldn't have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you kids.
Meddling adventurers.
Yes.
Adventurers, yeah.
So there's actually a couple routes you can go with the Terrible Terrain for haunted houses. One is it's actually a haunted house, or you could totally do the Scooby-Doo thing, where it's a house that appears to be haunted.
And X-Files too, where it's like seems like it's a paranormal thing, but there's actually an explanation for it.
Option 3, Great Mimic.
The whole house is alive.
The whole house is a mimic.
Alive.
So there's 3 ways we could go about this. Now, and you could do things like prestidigitation throughout the house, and have all weird things happening all the time. Like you could even do like in 3rd edition, Eberron had living spells. So what if you had like a couple of living spells, but they're actually just cantrips? Floating around this house.
Like message and prestidigitation, because you have creeping whispers. Yeah.
You're like those 3 cantrips themselves, just like going off all over the house, would absolutely make it seem like it was haunted.
I see a gnome illusionist behind it.
No, it's a gnome. Of course. Once they take the mask off the monster, it's a gnome illusionist.
It's a gnome illusionist. Yeah.
Nice.
He created it because he was bored.
So you could do this as like, and what's nice about the haunted house too, like it could be in the middle of nowheres, or it could be in the center of the city.
Yeah, or it could be a haunted keep, or this or that.
Yeah, it could be the house on the hill in in the town that everyone avoids, and they've never gone there.
Or you could take it The Shining, and like this hotel that like during a certain span of time, like people tend to go crazy during it. This like wayward, like because it was like during the winter in this place that becomes inhospitable and nobody really goes there. So you could do that where it's like, oh, we need you guys to like just look after this keep or this hotel, this exotic locale.
And there's different ways you could do it too. You could absolutely do a ghost that pretty much his MO is to possess people and have a person seemingly go nuts in your party or an NPC and start trying to murder people, or do things that are detrimental to them. And all of it may not even be obvious at once. And once they figure out that it's this person doing it, and they don't, initially they don't know why, then there's a problem. They have to stop them, and they probably don't want to actually hurt them. If it's another party member or if it's an NPC they've been traveling with and they're friends with, they have to come up with a non-combat solution to this problem. And then and again, they may not know the person's possessed. So then they have to, subdue the person, and then maybe the ghost will move to somebody else. And then they kind of have to like figure out there's a ghost. So you would have to then seed the haunted house with clues.
Yeah. Well, and also too, if your players are just like going murder hobo, like, oh, this guy was cool in the past, but he freaked out, and I guess we're just gonna have to kill him. Well, they do that, and then they can be haunted by the ghost of him, as an innocent party,
right?
And possessed, and then then you do the possession with one of them, and then they start looking at one another like, well, you're in the party, I guess I shouldn't kill you. So.
Yeah. Well, and it's definitely like that. So you might do something like maybe, maybe in the library they find a journal of someone that stayed at the house previous, and it talks about like the same thing kind of happening.
Yeah.
Maybe they find in the library they also find books on occult lore.
Or a dagger.
Well, I don't think a dagger is going to tell them anything about possession or cults.
It'll be a cult dagger that like makes them kill people.
Well, it could be a cult dagger that makes them kill people. But that's a whole other thing.
It's a whole nother story.
Well, in previous editions, there was a really cool thing with demons and devils where they could possess items, which could easily be ported over the 5th edition.
Absolutely,
yeah, for sure. So I mean, you could have the cliche horror things of just like like just old rickety stairs giving way, so like a sort of natural hazard type of thing happening. You have all the paranormal stuff, and you could just have like rats and like scavengers and this and that come through too.
Absolutely. And the other thing too with the haunted house, like one of the things you want to do is like you want to build a story around the event. What's going on, like what predated. Like I recently, like now I'm binge watching on Supernatural, and like every time they come up against a new supernatural threat, they're always they always have to figure out what's the cause, what's the thing. Like there's this investigation period that goes on before they can actually confront the monster.
Right.
And so you would want to incorporate that into elements into the game, so that they have to like kind of like delve into the history of the house, whether it's through talking to people that live in the town or in the surrounding area, whether they go to like the public building and find documentation,
Divination magic, a little bit of that going on.
yeah, absolutely, divination magic, and again like searching for clues in the house itself, which might be a little bit more dangerous. You could do it as one specific type of spirit is haunting the house, or you could do the menagerie of undead if you wanted to, and essentially just turn it into a dungeon crawl with the haunted house as the backdrop.
Right.
But there's also an opportunity to do more interesting things there as well. Like you said,
place in the story,
like you said, maybe one of the players inherit the house.
Yeah.
And like it's it's very cliche, but they do the thing where you have to spend the night there.
Yeah.
In order to get the inheritance.
Yeah. I mean, but it could be a remote locale or destination, like a keep or whatever, like some eccentric nobles just like, if you could just winter here for me and like watch over it. Meanwhile, all these creepy occurrences happen. So that's basically the plot to The Shining. Like they get a commission to just spend some time, managing the property. Little do they know. Yeah.
And maybe maybe the owner knows, and they just didn't want to hire professional ghost hunters. They're like, these adventurers are
they
good.
Look like they can handle it.
Yeah.
Or they're in league with the spirits that.
And they feed it.
Yeah.
Or if it's if it's spirits, if it's the mimic. If it's the way of, okay, well, this is how, it's appeased by it,
blood.
By blood, by the owner is like, look, I own this place. I'll make sure you're fed or you're dealt with or whatever it is that you're needed. We'll get you stuff, and I profit by having the house and getting whatever benefit. Like, if it's just gonna eat the bodies, it doesn't need the stuff. I then get the stuff.
There's definitely like the kind of like bandit approach, or you could go Lovecraftian on this, and whether it's an actual haunted house, or the house mimic, where the townsfolk or the people that live near it
sacrifice to it.
Basically, go, all right, well, and we have to keep this thing appeased. So the only way we're going to do that is keep feeding it. So they're constantly like finding ways to get travelers to go there.
And everybody's creepy and eerie and not voluntary information about stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
They come across as normal, quaint, and small town until you dig a little deeper. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So I see this edition of Terrible Train as being more of like a either really short story arc or one session. Right. I mean, it could be a little bit longer depending on how in depth you want to go. Like
how many encounters are going to happen too? Because you can only really maybe get like 4 encounters into a night. If there's like story exposition and RP going on. So,
well, I'm thinking like too, like it could be a short. In some ways, it could also be a short story arc. Like, if like there's something going on in town, and then the town sends you to the house, and maybe it all stems from this cult. Like, you could definitely breadcrumb it to a bigger story and be a piece of it.
And what the players are going to actually wind up doing. Are they going to cut and run? Or are they going to try and, abolish the spirits that's in the house? Or, find a way to bring down this greater mimic, that's not just, I'm going to set the house on fire and hope that does the trick. What if, that's not the way to do it, it could require research or another quest or, whatnot to get to the final, the final end point.
I was just picturing you got haunted house, we've got alchemist fire. Easy enough. Moving on.
Well, I mean,
your whole night adventure actually becomes, you know, 3 rounds.
Structure fire. Yeah.
So, you know, and then like after they deal with the house, you know, if they were kind of tricked into going there by the townsfolk, then like that opens up like a whole can of worms there that you can kind of have to deal with. Like essentially, you know, you basically have a town of criminals and murderers because they've been kind of, you know, or maybe some of them know and some of them don't. It's just a creepy house that no one goes to. You know, maybe they get conflicting information in the town. Like, you know, there's people trying to send them to the place, and there's other people going, you should just leave this town. It's a really bad place.
You know, and the people who are doing it, you know, what is their involvement? You know, once the house has been dealt with, you know, what do you do with those people? Do you try and, you know, help them out to, you know, deal with the issues? And it's like, well, we were getting X out of it, and, you know, we didn't want to be killed. We didn't want to be the ones fed to it. So, you know, are they criminals? Are they, you know, do they need counseling? You know, what you know, yeah. What do you do?
Do you put them to the sword? This whole thing.
Yeah, and you know, and again, like, you know, how deep does it run? You know, so like, is it from, you know, just the top?
This runs all the way to the top, all the way to the mayor.
Yeah,
all the way to the mayor.
Again, all the way to the mayor. But you know, are most of the common people, are they involved, or they just try and get through their day-to-day life? So what it does is it creates these like moral quandaries for your players to have to navigate during the game.
Out, yeah. They're like, their character has to take some sort of stance about it. Like, what are they?
One way or another.
Yeah.
Like, you just tried to feed me to the house. That kind of pisses me off.
Yeah, that's bad mojo.
Yeah. We cannot be friends now. So I don't know. So that's you know, This Terrible Terrain, haunted house. What are some of your ideas? I know we've talked about the horror genre, but this time we want to be a little more specific. Just the house.
We gave it a piece of prime real estate.
That's it. Let us know in the comments below. Why you like, share, and subscribe.
You can find us over on Facebook,
or you can head over to nerdarchy.com and check out the store.
Well, until next time,
stay nerdy.